JP Morgan is right now the biggest bank in the United States, probably in the history of the United States.
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan.
Over the last century, of the notable bank mergers that have taken place, JP Morgan and its predecessors have been involved in almost 1/4.
Ever wonder how one man could change the financial world forever? Meet JP Morgan, the man who took control of America's financial system in a time of rapid industrial growth and economic uncertainty. His name has become synonymous with power and wealth. But how exactly did he build his financial empire? JP Morgan wasn't just a banker. He was a financial mastermind who understood the importance of stability and control during a time when the US was struggling with rapid changes. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the US was becoming an industrial powerhouse. Railroads, factories, and new technologies were springing up everywhere, but the financial system wasn't keeping up. Banks were small, undercapitalized, and often failed, leaving businesses and investors at risk. That's where JP Morgan came in. He saw an opportunity to not only stabilize the economy, but also make himself a key player in the process. JP Morgan used his skills and influence to reshape entire industries, build massive corporations, and rescue the US economy when it faced financial disaster. In this story, we'll take a closer look at how JP Morgan built his financial empire, leaving a lasting mark on both American and global finance. Ready to dive in? Let's go! Our journey begins in the late 1800s. America was in the middle of an industrial revolution, and railroads were the backbone of the country's economy. Without them, goods couldn't get from factories to markets, and people couldn't travel across the growing nation. But the railroad industry was a mess. Companies were competing fiercely, often driving each other into bankruptcy with reckless pricing wars. JP Morgan saw that this chaos wasn't good for anyone, and he stepped in to bring order to the industry. Morgan began by reorganizing struggling railroads, using his financial expertise to make them more profitable. He convinced companies to stop competing and instead work together in a more organized system. This process, known as Morganization, allowed Morgan to take control of a significant portion of the US railroad system, making him one of the most powerful men in the country. Morgan and railroads, how did he change the game? He reorganized them, turned chaos into stability, and took control. Morgan wasn't just saving companies. He was setting the stage for America's industrial expansion. By making railroads more efficient, he helped industries grow and created a more stable economy. His influence grew rapidly, and soon he was involved in other major industries, including steel and electricity. But railroads were just the beginning of JP Morgan's financial empire. Next, we turn to one of Morgan's most significant moments, the Panic of 1907. This was a time when the US economy was on the brink of collapse. Banks were failing, and there was no central bank to step in and stabilize the situation. Morgan, seeing the potential disaster ahead, took matters into his own hands. He organized a group of New York bankers to pool their money and provide emergency funds to failing banks, effectively saving the US economy from a complete meltdown. How did JP Morgan save the economy during the Panic of 1907? He gathered the top bankers, pooled their resources, and stabilized the banking system. Morgan's actions during the Panic of 1907 showed the world just how powerful he had become. He wasn't just a wealthy man, he was the financial leader of the country, stepping in when the government couldn't. His ability to organize resources and calm the markets made him a hero to some, though others worried about the amount of power he held. From financial collapse to recovery, Morgan's quick thinking saved the day. But JP Morgan wasn't just interested in rescuing banks. He was also building some of the largest and most powerful corporations in history. One of his greatest achievements was the creation of US Steel. In 1901, Morgan bought Andrew Carnegie's steel company, which was the largest steel producer in the world. and merged it with smaller companies to create the first billion-dollar corporation in history. U.S. Steel became a giant in the industry, dominating the global steel market for decades. Morgan's empire building wasn't about quick wins. It was about creating industrial giants that would last. Morgan was also instrumental in forming General Electric, another company that became a household name. He helped merge Edison General Electric and Thomson Houston Electric Company to create a dominant player in the emerging field of electricity. Morgan didn't just invest in companies. He reshaped entire industries by merging competitors and creating massive corporations that controlled significant market share. What made J.P. Morgan's empire different? He built companies that didn't just survive. They dominated their industries. J.P. Morgan's influence extended beyond the companies he built. He helped shape the modern banking system by creating a network of connections between Wall Street and global markets. His bank, J.P. Morgan and Company, became the most powerful financial institution in the world, helping governments, businesses, and investors around the globe. Morgan's bank underwrote bonds for foreign governments, financed massive infrastructure projects, and helped establish the U.S. as a global financial powerhouse. Morgan wasn't just building companies, he was connecting the U.S. to the world. Through his bank, J.P. Morgan became one of the most influential figures in global finance. His actions weren't just about making money, they were about shaping the future of banking and investing. He believed in stability and control, and he used his power to bring both to the financial world. What was Morgan's goal in banking? He wanted to create a stable, interconnected system that could weather any storm. Despite his immense success, J.P. Morgan's empire wasn't without its critics. Many believed that his monopolistic practices gave him too much power and stifled competition. This concern led to the passage of antitrust laws that aimed to break up large corporations and prevent the kind of dominance that Morgan's companies had. Still, even as the government moved to limit corporate power, Morgan's legacy as a financial giant remained intact. Was Morgan's influence too great? Some thought so, but his role in stabilizing the economy was undeniable. One of Morgan's lasting contributions to the financial world was his role in paving the way for the creation of the Federal Reserve. After the Panic of 1907, it became clear that the U.S. needed a central bank to prevent future financial crises. While Morgan acted as a central bank during the panic, his influence highlighted the need for a more formal institution. In 1913, just a few years after Morgan's death, the Federal Reserve was established, taking over the role that Morgan had played in stabilizing the economy. Morgan's actions during the panic helped lead to the creation of the Federal Reserve. J.P. Morgan's empire was built on a simple idea: control. He believed that financial stability came from consolidation and careful management. Whether it was railroads, steel, or banking, Morgan knew that chaos could be avoided if industries were properly organized and controlled. His influence didn't just shape the companies he was involved in, it shaped the entire financial system. And there you have it, the story of how J.P. Morgan built a financial empire. J.P. Morgan's legacy lives on today. His bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, is one of the largest and most powerful financial institutions in the world. The companies he helped build, like General Electric and U.S. Steel, became giants in their industries. And the financial system he influenced continues to rely on the principles of stability and control that he championed. If you found this deep dive into J.P. Morgan's financial empire interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations of pivotal moments in financial history. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and remember the lessons from those who shape the world of finance.